Hello everybody, we're Sky Portraits and we've formed a little tradition in our household whereby every Sunday we do 2 meals for our son because he doesn't live with us during the week, so he's living close to varsity. So what we do is we prepare 2 wholesome meals to give him the feeling of he's left home but the cooking hasn't changed much, so he gets this wholesome kind of feeling. But at the end of the day, our aim or our reason for starting this channel is to show you that yes, you can produce wholesome food, but it doesn't have to take you 2 hours of slaving in the kitchen. You know, it could be quite easy. I mean, our methods, as you will see as we go along, is not very traditional in the way that we cook food. We use a lot of shortcuts, if you will, and yes, that might come under criticism, but we challenge all those people who are going to criticize us. You know, we challenge them to take on our challenges and do what we do and let them know how long it takes them. So our aim is to bring you good food, fast cooking times without losing quality or without losing flavor. So we really hope that you enjoy our channel. We're going to start this. Let us know if you like what we're doing, what you like us doing, what you'd like us to do more of, and then we can take it from there. We're really reliant on you and your feedback, so we really would appreciate that. And yes, here goes, vlog number 1. Thank you very much. So our 2 meals of choice for the day or for the week would be, we're making a lamb biryani. As you can see, we use free-range lamb. Not that we've been sponsored by any of these companies, but this is just our normal shops that we attend. So we're going to use the free-range lamb for the biryani. And then we're going to do a pasta dish on the side. And I'm going to show you how quick and easy it actually is to make wholesome food without spending 2 hours trying to present a meal that tastes good and that's of a quality, of a high standard. So we'll be just going to take it as we go along, and yes, we're going to film it every step of the way and we'll see how it goes. Okay, so I'm not a fan of raw meat. I've been using this line for years. My husband seems to have bought it, so that is the reason we're going to involve him now to do his job, and that is to trim the meat for us, to rinse the meat so that I don't have to get my hands dirty. We're going to start with the lamb, and I think that's a good place to start.
So free-range meat's way better to actually cut because it doesn't, you know, you can see the color of the meat, etc. is a lot better. There's no like blotches in the meat, consistent color, but it's easy to cut, and there's good marbling in the meat as well because they, well, the feed I'm guessing on free-range was a lot better. Anyway, I'm gonna get going here, cut all this up, and get ready because my head chef's gonna be on my case in a few minutes. So, right.
Time is money. It's all about time in this video. Joshua's been preparing the meat. I've just prepared a spice mix here, and obviously spicing, seasoning is all a very subjective sort of process in terms of, you know, what people's tastes or palates are when it comes to spices. And I think maybe at a later stage we can release a video where we actually go through the process of mixing the spices for different palates. But today I've just done that in advance. Because that's not the focus of this video, but we will do that at a later stage.
So are you making this curry, the one that we're making today, like temperature-wise, medium, hot or mild?
Well, unfortunately, when it comes to my family, everything needs to be hot. And just like I'm going to get criticism from the fans out there, I get constant criticism from my family on a weekly basis in terms of the spice level not being hot enough. So hopefully today we'll get that spice level on point.
And as you mentioned, you're going to release it at some point in the link below at some point.
Correct,
okay,
yes.
Brilliant. Can't wait to see that.
Did you know breyani was first invented?
The first step of my cooking process that's going to come under immense scrutiny because I've kicked the traditional way of, you know, chopping onions, chopping tomatoes, and what I do is, it's all in a can. There is literally no need to do those prehistoric steps, as I call them, because we're modern people living in a modern world, right? Times have changed. We need to move with the times. So when you're working, when you're running businesses, when you're a mother, when you're a student, when you're a wife, you've got no time to chop onions and chop tomatoes. It's done for you. So cheers to the people who invented this. I'm just waiting for my pot to heat up so that we can start the cooking process. So as you can see, actually cheat number one, which is very different for me versus other cooks, is that you will not see oil feature very often in my videos. I'm not a fan of oil. I believe the way we cook is a very, very healthy version of cooking, yet we're not compromising on the quality or the standard of the product that we're producing at the end. So cheat number one, no oil, which actually has health benefits. Cheat number two, pre-cut tomatoes and onions goes into the pot. And then you add your spices, obviously according to your own palate and taste buds. We then add something that's like pasteurized milk, almost like a sour milk, just for additional flavor. And we add that to the mix. Add about half a bottle of this, so that's about 250 mils of that. What we do is, what I like to do is form a paste with everything. So I get all the flavors going in the pot, which forms my basis for cooking. Once everything's been mixed up pretty well, I add the meat. Cover the meat in all the spices. And by the way, you'll notice a big difference. Normally the meat gets pre-marinated, which is what we have not done here, because obviously we're all about time and efficiency.
But you can do that
if you have the time. I mean, if you have the ingredients in your fridge, you're more than welcome to marinate the night before, or before you start cooking. But in this instance, we have not done that. But as you can see, there we go.
So how long do we leave this on the stove for now?
Well, I like to cover my food whilst it's cooking. I mean, if you're looking, you're not cooking, right? So the longer you keep your lids closed, the more steam you're going to get, the faster your meal is actually going to cook. So people who peep constantly, you're going to have this issue where my food is not cooking fast enough, and you're going to spend 2 hours doing something that could essentially take you 45 minutes.
I'm a peeper.
So we're going to keep it closed for a good 20 minutes or so, just so that everything can infuse and so the cooking process can start. And we leave it on quite a high heat initially, and then we'll lower the heat later.
So you cook high temp, eh?
For now, yes. Not the entire process, but when you start it off, it's a high temperature. So whilst our biryani is cooking, we need to prepare our second meal concurrently, obviously. So the biryani is the main dish, and that obviously takes a lot of time. And the second meal is normally like a very quick meal, a 15-minute meal if you wish. So it's a meatball pasta this week, and as I said, my family enjoys hot food. So it's going to have a nice spicy kick to it. And you'll see I'll be preparing the meatballs in the oven so as to save time. And also so that the hair doesn't smell like food when you're done cooking, because that is a real problem for people who are cooking and you need to go out there after. So yeah, we're going to put these in the oven. I'll give it a bit of a kick in terms of adding some chili so that it can have a nice hot kick, so that my family will enjoy it.
Leave it on high for 30 minutes.
Still on high. No, I'm going to reduce it now.
You need to inform the viewers.
So what are you doing now, Nicole?
So I'm just lining my baking tray for my meatballs so that I can go and get to the oven.
But there's two ways of making this, right? You can either like pan fry it.
You could pan fry it, but then once again, it's the oil factor that I spoke to you about, and we're very health conscious. And also the hair factor, and also the time factor. So I just feel that this has far more benefit than the conventional way of putting it on the stove. So I've lined it. I'm gonna add some spray and cook to the tray. And then yes, I'll show you how I prepare my meatballs.
These chilies look very dangerous, Olivia.
They are.
I'm sure you've got some plans for this.
Most definitely, in both meals. Hang on, ready?
Yep.
So what I'm going to do now is just going to add some spray and cook to my foil. As I've mentioned numerously in this video, I'm anti-oil. What I'm going to do to add a bit of kick to the meal, I'm going to take some smoked chili flakes. I'm going to add it to the bottom of the pan, sprinkle it over the foil. As you can see, people, it's not rocket science. It's small little tricks that you learn over the years. Opening up my meatballs, and you know, don't like the raw meat, so I'm not going to touch it. Just place it on the tray. Make sure you give each one some space so that they can all cook evenly.
There's an option of you making this out of mince directly as well, is there?
There is, but you know, we're all about time and speed and as little effort as possible to get the most wholesome food as possible. So we're using the store-bought one that's been pre-made. But we are making it our own. I mean, if you don't like chili and you like other flavors, you're more than welcome to put whatever you'd like to put, whatever your families enjoy. And this goes into the oven. We've preheat the oven to 180 degrees. And we're going to put this into the oven.
How long do we leave it in the oven for?
I'm going to leave it for about 10 minutes. Then I'm going to flip it for about another 10 minutes. And then that should be good. So as mentioned before, we're going to flip the meatballs, opening.
Wow, it smells amazing.
Give it one little flip here. And just brown on both sides. Is what we want. It's obviously infused with the chili as well, chili flakes.
How long we put it back in for?
And it goes back in for about 5 minutes or so. It's virtually cooked. So 20 minutes have lapsed. We're now going to open our pot here. We're going to reduce the heat and give it a nice stir. There we go. It looks amazing and it smells amazing. And now we need to add some of our mint leaves. Sprinkle it on top. And some chilies. My family love chilies. And as you can see, we have a mixture of red and green chilies.
Any particular reason or?
For color, for flavor, to cater for everyone's needs. you know. And we close him up again. And we leave him to cook. So we're going to fill a kettle with water because we want to boil the water, because we're not going to boil the water on the stove and waste time doing that. We're going to do it in the kettle. Look at that color. And as I said, folks, you can see it produced enough oil. There was no need to add a drop of oil to that.
What is your cooking time in Thai on this, Olivia?
That took all of 15 minutes in the oven. So while the meatballs are resting, we need to prepare our rice for our biryani. Now there are obviously very, very easy ways and shortcut ways of preparing the rice, or you can do it the traditional way. For today's purposes, we're going to do it somewhere in the middle. So we're not going to cheat entirely, but we're not going to do it the fully traditional way. So for this process, we're going to start by frying off our onions, which unfortunately for this step, I have to use some oil. But as you can see, it's going to be a drop of oil.
What oil are you using?
I use olive oil. I don't use sunflower oil. And what I do is I'm going to use my pre-chopped onions. Whilst the onions are frying off, we're going to boil some water. Just put our kettle on.
What's the objective? What are you trying to get these from? Sweet or crispy?
Crispy. For biryani, I like to do them crispy. Okay, so our onions are the way we like them. What we're going to do now is we're going to remove it from the pot and put it on some paper towel. I'm going to leave a few onions in the pot.
Is there a reason for that?
Just for some color and to give the rice some flavor, because otherwise the rice just tastes like boiled rice, and that's not really what you want to achieve. So this is the part I was talking to you about where we're going to sort of cheat. We're somewhere in the middle. So we've got the rice with the lentils, with the spices already, and as you can see it's already yellow, so we don't have to color the rice afterwards. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some dry biryani spices with the onions.
And these are, you can obtain at
any spice shop in your neighborhood, in your area, will have these. I'm also going to add some of the chilies. Bottom. And then I'm going to add my rice.
Again, this rice can be obtained at any Indian shop, essentially.
Exactly, any spice shop. Now you've got to be careful because the pot is extremely hot, and we're going to add boiling water to that. So we're going to try not to burn. And there we have our flavored rice, lovely and aromatic.
So So the pre-boiling of the water further adds to the whole time thing, yes?
Exactly. That's exactly why we're doing it. So we're going to boil our pasta now, which we do in the microwave. In the interest of time, the emphasis of this video is on time. So we've got our biryani cooking there, with the rice boiling concurrently. The meatballs are done, as you can see. We've halved them just to make it easier to combine with the pasta. And we've used penne pasta today. It changes week to week depending on what we want. So we're going to do this in the microwave.
But you can use it gluten-free as well if you need to as well.
You can use whole wheat, you can use gluten-free, whatever your preference might be.
Are we following the same process now of speeding up, i.e. the boiling water?
Exactly. It's one of our trademarks that we use. We always use boiled water. We don't boil from scratch from the stove. Just give it a bit of a stir so it doesn't stick.
Like the old fallacy, do we add oil into it now as well? Or?
Yeah, you know, I haven't really done that test to see whether oil works or whether it doesn't work. I'm just going to add a little bit of salt to this. And then I'm going to put it in the microwave.
Duration?
10 minutes.
So 10 minutes time we're going to have pasta, eh?
That's right. Okay, we're just checking to see if the meat is actually softening here, because we are almost ready to combine.
How's it coming along though?
Very well. I love the flavors, I love the consistency, the gravy, it looks very good. So as you can see, we've got 2 minutes and 18 seconds left on the microwave. That gives us just enough time to prepare our sauce for the pasta. So we're going to use a tomato base today because we have lamb meatballs.
Is the can the same as the one that you used for the biryani?
Yes, specifically because the family likes spicy food. When we do chicken, we'll obviously vary the sauces and the seasoning that we use. So we're going to use some arrabbiata sauce or seasoning. Just add it to our tomato base.
So what you're saying is that you can either buy the arrabbiata sauce pre-made or you can buy the spice and combine it with
Correct. I mean, it changes from week to week just depending on what's available and what you're actually looking for. So we're going to give this a bit of a stir. There we go. So what we do is we add some chilies into the sauce. We're now ready to add our meatballs, which I've halved, as we've mentioned, because we're using penne pasta. And there we go. Our noodles are ready, just in time. Out my utensil, off here, draining it. Okay, that's perfect. And all you do now is add the cooked pasta to your sauce base. Dish number 1, ready in 20 minutes flat. Being a pasta dish, if you're a cheese fan, you're more than welcome to sprinkle a cheese of choice over here. We're not going to do this in this instance because our son is part lactose intolerant, so we're not going to add any cheese. But you're more than welcome to do so if you wish. There we go, Italian fusion on a plate. We're now ready to strain our rice. That's done. I'm just gonna put it through a colander. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna add some cold water just to stop the cooking process. Pour that over the rice. There we go. And because we don't want to be labeled a lazy cook, we're going to remove all these leaves that are very traumatic when you bite into them and actually hinders your eating process. So what I generally do is I remove all these things from the rice because it's infused enough. We'll leave the chilies as a surprise, but we'll remove everything else.
I guess it's also preference. People that want to have it in there. The onus is on them.
100%. But considering this is our family channel, we like removing it, so that's what we're doing today.
So all the landmines are being removed.
Exactly. So I don't know if the camera can actually, or the microphone can actually pick up the sound here, but if you actually listen to what's happening in the pot, you can actually hear that a lot of the liquid has condensed. And if I open it up now, you'll actually see the bubbles on top because the liquid has condensed. And you can see it's reduced by a lot compared to the earlier stages. So what we do is, we give it a final stir through. And something special that we do in our family, I'm not sure if anyone else does this, but what we do is, when we have gravy left like this, what we do is, we actually scoop it out before combining with the rice. And then as we're eating, or when we're dishing our meals, we add the gravy on top for extra flavor. So that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to take my ladle and scoop out some of this gravy. As you can see, it's lovely and thick. The consistency is absolutely perfect. And that's what you want. You want it to cook down to this level. You do need to leave a little bit at the bottom because you obviously don't want your biryani to dry out. So what we're going to do is we just position the meat nicely. And normally people would layer it, but as you know, we're all about time and effective cooking without losing the quality. We need to emphasize this. So what I do is now take our rice and I just sort of spoon it on top. And obviously your quantity of rice is dependent on, you know, the way your family enjoys the meal. So a lot of people would use a meat quantity ratio of 1 to 3 parts rice, for example. In my family it's a bit different. They love their meat component, so you'll find that we don't use too much rice when we are making biryani. It's at this stage that I'll add my onions. And not everybody in my family enjoys onions. So what you'll see, I'm only putting half the amount of onions in here So the portions that my son's going to take home for the week, we'll add more onions to his bowls separately. So we're just going to close this up. Well, I think we can add a little bit of coriander on top. So what I like to do is I simmer this through for 5 minutes, and then I'll open it up, give it one final stir through, and then we're ready to eat. So 3 minutes have expired and we're ready to do our final stir through. So let's see what's happened. There we go. Not too saucy, not too much rice. Perfect to the way my family likes it. As you can see, the meat's already falling off the bone as well. So our meat is soft, and it hasn't taken us half a day to prepare this meal. And there we have it.
Bye.